Hey, I just wanted to make a public service announcement. It's ashy, broke, dusty, and pathetic to brag about making six figures in 2021. Listen, if you can spend the amount of money that you have in your lifetime, you don't need to brag about it, especially as a man, because what that means is that you have not built generational wealth. Generational wealth is having so much in terms of money and assets that it can't be spent in your lifetime and it can't be spent for several generations. Do you understand that there are families in this country that have so much money, that have amassed so much wealth, that they can't spend it in their lifetimes, their kids' lifetimes, their grandkids' lifetimes? Okay? And you know what those people are not doing? They're not bragging about money. You show that you are dusty and that you're not used to having anything when you're bragging about making $100,000 a year, especially when there are parts of the country and really in certain parts of the world where $100,000 is not going to get you far. In certain parts of this country, $100,000 is not going to buy you a house, okay? And in some places, the places that are super expensive, there are people who have decided to not rent at all, and they live like either in tiny homes, I think that's what they call those structures, or some people just live out of their cars. So it looks really pathetic to see so many black males online talking about six figures, when a lot of the guys having those conversations themselves don't even make six figures. But if they do, they make low six figures. Okay? Another thing I wanted to say is you have a lot of people still connecting to certain platforms, which is their right to do. But let me say this. Y'all cannot be mad when a few years from now, the image of black women is even further in the trash. You can't be mad because you're giving these people so much free content. Like, you're continuing to allow these males to make money off of you. Once you call into that show and that video goes up, it's there forever. But if that video goes up and it gets a lot of views, you're helping that person generate even more traffic to their channel. You're helping them in terms of AdSense. You're helping them in terms of donations. Jeez, y'all gotta stop doing so much for free. You gotta stop doing so much for free. If you're gonna call into these shows and embarrass yourselves, and by extension, embarrass the collective of black women, could you at least start making these guys give you donations? Do you understand? Let me tell you something. When those guys get together and they call into certain shows or they collab, they are splitting those donations, okay? They're splitting those donations at your expense, black women. At your expense, because you called into the show. You gave them the content. Those of you in the chat, in the comment sections, or in the clouds watching, you gave them the viewership and the traffic. You're literally bankrolling the destruction of the black woman's image. But I say, you know what? Y'all go on and do that shit. And I'm going to tell you why. It's like we all have to suffer because the majority of black women lack foresight. You have a small number of us saying, hey, this is going to hurt us all in the future, and y'all are still doing it. But the difference is that those of us who can see and who can understand that this will not be good for any of us, we're at least able to prepare ourselves as much as possible so that we will not be in proximity to the collective of Black people when all of this shit goes downhill. Because when this goes downhill, I'm telling you, between defunding the police, between you all using divestment to rant and vent about men who don't want you, only to then warp the message and talk shit about us, right? To then you engaging in and participating in platforms that are dragging all of us down. In a couple years, watch what happens. You're already seeing what's happening in real time. You have a world that is really unfeeling when it comes to Black women anyway, because we don't require any advocacy for ourselves. And we don't require anything in return when we advocate for other people. So people are not going to care about you more than you care about yourself. That's just with anything. So we have a world that deals with us in a way that's very unfeeling and cold. And then, to make things worse, you have quite a few Black women contributing to our degradation, contributing to the muddying of our image by going onto these shows and allowing yourself to be talked to in ways that frankly does not happen with other women. You allow it. So that is unfortunately going to further dehumanize us. And we continue to see these situations. You had the young Black girl that was thrown in the dumpster, the other young Black girl that was hit in the face with a skateboard. You had another Black girl that was punched in the face because of a parking disagreement. You have another Black girl that was a young Black lady who was mauled and attacked by a pack of nakers, okay? You had an elderly Black woman that was kicked in the head repeatedly on a train in New York. You had Toyin Salu, who was tweeting about the fact that she had been sexually assaulted after a Black Lives Matter protest. And when she disappeared, no one in her real life seemed to value her humanity enough to really quickly act on what she was tweeting. It was random people on Twitter that were tweeting the police department in the city that she was in and saying, hey, look at this girl's Twitter page. Look at what she's saying. But the people in her own circle, the people that she was at that protest with, the people in her own family had dehumanized her so much because of some of the things that we perpetuate and participate in, that they didn't value her life enough to try to prioritize finding their daughter, their sister, their classmate, the girl that was standing beside them at the protest. They didn't value her enough to do that. And then what do you see take place in real life and on social media? A lot of times when things happen to Black women and even very young Black girls, you will have so many Black women, because see, we dehumanize ourselves, and so therefore we don't see the humanity in each other. So you'll see so many Black women blaming young Black girls and other Black women for the trauma that they experience. Because we remember that's what happened with Toyin Salu. Even though that girl was only 19, you had people coming on this very app who felt no sense of decency or humanity towards that girl, even though some of them were old enough to be her mother. And it's only going to get worse because of the things that some of y'all are continuing to do on social media. Just think about it.